Hello, it's Dave again. With this particular podcast, what we're going to do is look in more detail at the assignment that's due for human resource management. The assignment brief is on Blackboard and we're looking at a copy of it now. So you'll see straight away that it's due on Monday the 2nd of December at 9 o'clock in the morning. So that means you've got the whole of the weekend before and of course several weeks before that in which to tackle it. Just a couple of reminders, it's worth 50% of the overall assessment for the module, and I will mark it and get it back to you with lots of feedback through Turnitin within a 3-week period. That's my target, that's what I'll do. If for some reason you can't achieve that date and time, then there are issues. One issue is if there's no reason other than it's late, then your work will be marked, but the mark awarded to it will be capped at 40%. If it's more than 2 weeks late, it won't be marked at all. So if you're going to have a problem with it, get in touch, talk to us about it. Don't just let things fester. Okay, the assignment itself. What's going on? Well, first of all, you need to be reminded that it's an individual piece of work, it's not group work. You're going to do some research and you're going to tackle a strategic issue. You're going to produce a report of between 2,000 and 2,500 words. Appendices are allowed, but please, no more than half a dozen sides. You'll find a lot of tutors give you some leeway with word counts of plus or minus 10%, that's the norm. But in this case, since I'm giving you between 2,000 and 2,500 words, 2,500 words is the cap. You're going to shout foul, I need more words than that. But I think it was Winston Churchill who once wrote something like, I'm sorry this is such a long letter, I didn't have time to write a short one. There you go. Reminder of the learning outcomes for the module, so keep those in mind as you're tackling it. You're going to produce a piece of work which critiques theory. You're going to write a fully referenced report. You're doing it independently. You're planning your own learning, and you're going to provide us with a demonstration of critical and analytical rigor. There you go. That's what you're doing. So what's going on? First of all, there's some preamble. There's a report that's available on the CIPD website. In fact, I've got a copy of it on Blackboard for you, and it's a report published in 2006 about talent management. And so you'll find a quotation taken straight from that report up here. Have a read of it, work out what it's saying, what's going on. Within that report, and as I say, you can access the whole report, which is referenced down here, they ask several questions that HR people need to keep in mind when thinking about talent and high flyers. So there's 7 questions there. So the assignment says, look at those 7 questions, think about where you work, and identify 4 of those questions and address them. So can we develop a profile of what we're looking for when recruiting and selecting high flyers? Do we understand what motivates high flyers? How can they be assessed? How can they be managed? What instruments might we use to assess them? What learning development interventions could be used to help them? How can we hang on to them? How can we retain these people and prevent their derailment or non-suitability? And how can we develop talented individuals without doing so at the expense of the team? Some really interesting and difficult questions. Pick 4 of those questions, not 7, 4 of them, and then think about whether and how they apply to your organisation, or if you don't want to choose your own organisation, one with which you're familiar, one where you've got access to some data, some practices. So think about the issues that rise from those questions and then draw some conclusions. So that's going to involve you in quite a bit of discussion, critical discussion. And write 2,000 to 2,500 words on it, please. At the end of that one final task, I'm asking you to do a little bit of reflection. What did you think of the piece of work that you submit? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses of it? How could you improve it? So it's a challenging task. You might find it helpful to access that article and read it, and other articles relating to talent management and high flyers. But you'll see also that it addresses a number of themes that we explore in the Human Resource Management module. A couple of specific notes: discuss the question in light of theory. Don't just talk about what goes on at work, think about how work is impacted by the theory and vice versa. Make sure it's correctly referenced. Reference your academic sources. That's using the Harvard system. There's guidance on Blackboard about that. Lots and lots of guidance. If you get stuck, just Google Harvard referencing system and you'll see how to do it. If you want to use any of the models or theories from the lectures, the stuff produced on Blackboard, do so. But I think you'll find it very, very helpful to go beyond those. Diagrams and models can help. What's the phrase? A picture's worth 1,000 words. It is if it's a good picture. Similarly with tables. Tables can be powerful to make a lot of points with just a very few words. A front cover including your student number and the word count, please. We'll mark it according to the question rubric. More about that in a minute. What are we looking for? We're looking for evidence of further research, evidence that you have done more than just look at the lecture material on Blackboard. For a good postgraduate piece of work, they should be looking at about a dozen or so at least piece of literature. Books, journals, articles, company documents, etc. We're going to be looking for the way the whole thing hangs together, theory and practice, and the way you develop an argument in a logical manner. Systematic and convincing, not with obvious gaps, bringing theory and practice together. And provide a critical discussion, analysis and evaluation. Don't just copy text from other sources without referencing it. If you do that, that's called plagiarism, and there are penalties for it. By all means, borrow words from other people, but show that you're doing so with direct quotations and quotation marks and referencing. When we're marking it, we'll be using this marking grid. What I want you to focus on, of course, is this left-hand column, which is marks of 70 plus. That's what I love awarding. I hate this column, so ignore it. We're looking at this column. We're looking therefore at generic communication skills. How good is your argument? How coherent? How comprehensive is it? Your demonstration of knowledge, understanding of the theory appropriate to the piece of work. Your analysis is breaking things down into constituent parts and discussing those individual parts. Your evaluation, which is weighing up how effective or otherwise those analyses are. Will it work? Will it work well? Why does it work there but not here? And the assignment parameters, looking at all the different tasks in the assignment, word count, referencing, how well it's written, spelling, presentation, those sorts of things. I love giving marks from this column. I hate giving marks from this column. So focus on that. Do that and you'll produce a good piece of work. We'll talk about it further as the module progresses, but any questions, raise them on Blackboard and help everybody else to understand what's necessary. I'm sure you'll do a great job, and we'll talk about the other piece of assessment later on. Cheers for now then.